Hello students, welcome to SGC online classes once again. Today we are going to start part 3 of factors of production. I think you have already gone through my previous two videos on factors of production, that is part 1 and part 2. Today we are going to start the part 3 of this chapter with capital as a factor of production. As I told you earlier, there are 4 factors of production are there: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Land, labor already we have gone through, and today we are going to start the capital, which is one of the major factor of production. What is capital? Being a commerce student, you have heard the word capital in class 9 as well. But what we understand from capital, that is the money invested to run a business, to start a business. But in economics, it has a wide terms of definition. Capital includes not only the money which is involved, but all those man-made goods which are used for production or manufacturing of any kind of product. This includes the machinery, equipment, tools, buildings, railways, transport, all these things. These are all required to make the production. And these are falling under the category of capital. Now, when we are talking about the definition of capital, there are so many economists, they have given the capital in their own terms. That you can go through all these definitions. But in the one word, everyone has said capital goods are produced goods that can be used for as a factor of production for further production. It includes everything. It includes the man, machines, equipment, whatever required for the production. Now, question comes, what are the characteristics of capital? As we have gone through for the characteristics of land and labor, so let's start the characteristics of capital. Capital is a passive factor. Why it is passive? Because capital cannot do anything or cannot produce anything on its own. It cannot work automatically. Like labor. The workers can work. It's an active factor. But capital is a passive factor. It cannot work on its own. You have to make them work. You have to use them. You have to utilize them in your production. Capital is man-made. All the examples which we have given in capital, that is man-made. If you see the machinery, equipment, tools, railways, bridges, transports, and everything, that is not a gift of nature. Who has made it? Man has made it. Man has made all these things to support their production. Capital is not an indispensable factor. Why it is like that? It is said production can be possible even without capital, whereas land and labor are the original and indispensable factors of production. Without land, without labor, you cannot do any production. But without capital, you may do some production. Suppose you have a piece of land and you have 20 workers along with you. You don't have a big equipment, machines, and other forms of capital. Still, you can produce agriculture. So many other things are like that. That is why capital is required. It's very much essential for factors of production, but it is not indispensable factor. Without capital, you cannot do anything, you cannot produce anything. It is not like that. Capital has a high mobility. Why? It can be shifted from one place to another. Money can be shifted, machinery can be shifted, equipment can be shifted. That is why capital has a high mobility. Capital is elastic. Supply of capital is elastic and can be adjusted easily and quickly according to demand. Whenever you require, suppose I'm giving an example, you are producing something in the factory. Now you want to increase the production. What do you require? Immediately, you can deploy certain big machineries, certain numbers of labor, certain equipments to meet the demand. That is why it is called very elastic. It can be adjusted easily as per your requirement, as per your demand. Capital depreciates. You know the meaning of depreciation. You are a commerce student. I think you have heard the word depreciation. Depreciation means gradual decrease in the value of the assets. Gradual decrease in the value of the assets as well as the life of the assets. Whenever you deploy a machine, with the use of the machine, the value of the machine gets decreased and the life of the machine as well. If you buy a car, after 1 year or 2 years down the line, the value of that car will get reduced and the life of the car also decrease. Same thing happens in capital, because now we have understood in economics that capital includes machinery, equipment, tools, everything. So whenever you deploy a machine, by the use of that machine, the life of that machine gets reduced and the value as well. That is why it is called the capital always depreciates. Capital is productive. Of course it is productive. Whenever you deploy a machine, for what reason you are deploying? To increase your production. To increase your production. Because everything cannot be done by man-made labor. Labor is required. That is a primary factor of production. But without machine, you cannot increase the production. Production can be increased to a large extent if workers work with adequate capital. If you have so many machines in your factory where workers are working, if they do the production by the use of machine, obviously the production will increase. Capital is temporary in nature. It is not fixed. Once you deploy machine, equipment, money and all these things, you will think that it is constant in nature and it is fixed for life. No, it's not like that. It's a temporary in nature. It gets replenished from time to time. It's not a gift of nature. I've already mentioned that. It is created by man. It's a man-made factor. It's not a gift of nature. Machinery is not a gift of nature. Equipment is not a gift of nature. Railways, transport is not a gift of nature. All who have done it, man has done it. That means man has made the capital, not nature. Capital is prospective. Capital is considered much prospective as the accumulation of capital yields an income. Why it is prospective? Because yields income. Whenever you deploy machines, it gives you more and more production. When the production increases, definitely your sales will go up. And with the selling, increased selling, your revenue will come in a higher way. That is why it is called prospecting. More and more you deploy capital, more and more revenue you will earn. Capital is the result of past saving. Why it is called like that? In some cases, when the consumption of capital goods is not stimulus or simultaneous with the production, it becomes a saving. Example, when a farmer does not consume or sell a part of his crop production, it can be used as seed in the future. It is the result of past saving. Whatever you produce, you are selling, and you are keeping certain revenue for your future, and you are adding that future past saving to the future capital. That is why it is called the result of past saving. Now, let's discuss the functions of capital. Capital is a provision for subsistence. Why it is called like that? It is a provision for subsistence because capital provides us what? Food, clothes, shelter to the workers and everything. The workers who are working in your factory, what they're getting in exchange of their labor, they're getting salary, they're getting wages. And with the wages, what they're doing? They're fulfilling their requirement of shelter, food, clothes, which are the basic necessity of any human being. And who is providing that? Capital is providing that. In the factory, you have deployed so many machines for bigger production. You have deployed, that is why so many workers are working, and they're getting benefited indirectly from the capital itself. Next, provision for appliances. Capital is used to obtain tools and implements for use by the workers when they are needed. It is clear that these things are essential for production. Provision for appliances. As I mentioned, capital includes machinery, equipments, and everything. To run a machine, what you require? You require certain tools and tackles. So this appliances requirement, who is generating? Capital is generating. Capital is generating the requirement of appliances, which are required for production, which are required for the machinery. It's a provision for raw material. For any finished goods production, you require raw material. Without raw material, you cannot produce anything. So how you are going to buy that raw material? You are going to buy that raw material from your capital. The capital, that means capital is the source by which we are procuring raw material which are required for production. Provision for marketing and sales promotion. It is not that you have produced something and automatically it will be sold. No, it is not like that. We have already gone through the understanding that for every finished product, you need proper marketing and sales promotion. Otherwise, how the consumer knows that this type of product has come into the market? Capital contributes a lot for this marketing and sales promotion, because it requires huge money to market your product at a large extent. And to promote the sales, you have to give certain offers. These are all required what? These all required good fund. And the capital fund gives you that benefit, which will be required for marketing and sales promotion of your finished product. Now, the main important functions of capital is the economic development. How it is related to the economic development of the country. With the help of capital, what we are doing, we are making the production, any goods or agriculture production, whatever it may be. So it produces a huge number. The government gets revenue by way of tax from that thing, output. The workers, the employees who are working in that factory, in that production, they are getting salaries and wages. They are paying tax to the government. By way of getting this revenue, the government gets more and more revenue from these sources. By this way, our entire economy is getting developed. If there is no production, how a government can get tax from its revenue? How workers or employees can be employed? If they are not working, how they pay tax? Because government runs by way of tax only. That is the main source of revenue. So capital is one of the important functions of capital is the economic development of the country. Now, when we are talking about the capital, there are so many types of capitals are there. First, fixed capital and circulating capital. Fixed capital means, by the name, you can understand what is that is fixed. The capital which are fixed. Which are this capital? Machinery, plant, factory building, transport equipment. These are fixed. Whenever you construct a factory, the factory sets are fixed, the machinery is fixed, the equipments are fixed, everything is fixed. And these are all capital. Circulating capital, those capital which can be used for a specific purpose only once. It is directly absorbed into the finished product. Suppose cotton and paper are such example, which are used only once in productive process of making clothes and printing of goods. After that, it cannot be used. That is why it is called circulating capital. It is not fixed. Sunk capital and floating capital. Sunk capital means is that category of capital which can be used to produce only one type of commodity or services. For example, an ice factory and an oil mill uses capital only to produce ice and oil respectively and no other commodity. Sunk capital means is that category of capital which can be used to produce only one type of commodity or services. In an ice factory, if you have visited any ice factory, you may have seen that they produce ice, big slabs of ice. And that will be used for all. After that, it cannot be used for other purposes. In the oil field also. In the oil mill, if you visited oil mill, they are producing oil from the seeds. And after that, it cannot be used for any other purposes. It is called sunk capital. Floating capital which can be used, the capital which can be used for alternative use. That is money. For so many purposes you can use money. Fuel. It's not that it will be used for this machine only. It can be used, the fuel is required for all the machines. This is floating capital, which floats. By the name you can understand the capital which floats. It's not fixed. Clear? Now, concrete capital, money capital and debt capital. Concrete capital means that property which is in the hands of both producer and consumers and as money value. This type of capital are in the hands of not only with the producer and manufacturer, but with the consumer as well. Like furniture, car, household goods. The manufacturer also having this thing, consumer also having this thing with the money value. Money capital is utilized by the producer for the purchase of tools, machines and other things. Money capital means is very clear. You can understand by its name. The capital which is money. And it can be used for so many reasons. For purchasing machinery, equipment, factory shares, everything. Debt capital represents the invested funds which yields income. Suppose you have invested certain money in a investment, in shares, stocks and some fixed deposits and other things. They will give money in the future. On that basis, in the future you will get some money. You are invested some money in shares and stock and in government securities. These are all called debt capital. What is internal and external capital? Internal capital means which is used within the territory of your country. And external capital which are used when the capital is obtained from foreign countries. Suppose you have made a production facility in your country and you require foreign funds. From foreign country, funds came and invested in your production. That is your foreign capital, external capital. Internal capital means when the capital of the country is used within the country. National capital, international capital, the same thing. It includes all private and public in a country, within the country. And international capital owned by two or more than two countries, which involves foreign countries. Private capital and public capital also you have seen. Remunerative capital and auxiliary capital. Remunerative capital and auxiliary capital. Capital which is given to workers in the form of wages is known as remunerative capital. Remunerative means, comes from the word remuneration. When a worker works in your factory, what he gets? He gets wages. Whenever he gets wages, that is your remunerative capital. And auxiliary capital means helps your laborer to produce goods. A laborer cannot produce anything unless you give him tools, tackles and all these things. You have given the main machinery, but the tools, tackles you have not given. For a carpenter, you have given woods, but you have not given the cutter, the plier, the hammer, nails and all these things. These are all the auxiliary. He cannot do anything. So guys, today we have completed the third factor of production, that is capital. One more part will be there on this chapter, which will include the entrepreneur. Clear? That will be my last video to conclude this chapter. So for now, goodbye, and please wait for next video for entrepreneur as a part of factor of production. Thank you.